All right, it's the final word, Australia-Pakistan Daily. Day 2 MCG for CBUS Super, cbussuper.com.au. More about them later. I'm Adam Collins. He's Jeff Lemon. We're sat in the MCC library, one of our very favourite places. More about them later as well. Jeff, tell us about the day in 30 seconds.
Australia resumed at 187 for 3, and then Pakistan had a really good morning. Rolled through them, got all 7 wickets, although the scoring kept going quickly, so they put on 131 further, ended up at 318, and at one stage Pakistan looked really good. Looked like they might be going somewhere, one for 120-ish, when Abdullah Shafiq was batting really well with the captain Shan Masood, and then the wickets started to come, 5 for 46. You always felt it was a chance with Pakistan. Cummins with the intervention, 2 in no time at all, a third as well. They end up 6 down, Rizwan still there, they're 124 behind.
It's a story of 3 sessions, naturally. Tends to be in Test cricket. But the extended first session, Pakistan win. You know, they hold every catch.
Yeah, extra half hour because they started early.
Yep, that's right.
With the rain yesterday.
10 a.m. start, they made the most of it. They needed to start well, and they did, right? Like, you know, Labuschagne gets to a half century. There are 4 boundaries in the first 2 overs with Labuschagne in head. But once they got on a bit of a roll, they never really stopped rolling. There was never any meaningful partnership after that juncture, and they earned bowling Australia out for 318. This wasn't necessarily through poor batting. It was good bowling, great catching, and yesterday their poor catching behind the wicket, Abdullah Shafiq was such a focus. Credit to them today. Rizwan's absolute blinder to get Carey on the inside edge diving one way.
Yes.
Shafiq getting one in the cordon, which is not for nothing after dropping one yesterday. Salman's got a great pair of hands at second slip. He's taken 5 catches in the series so far. So, you know, that's session 1. Session 2, they get to 1 for 64 by that juncture. Yep, Imam Al-Haq falls not long before it, caught it slip from the bowling of line to get into the game straight away. But then, you know, Shafiq, who we talk up so much, you know, we've said before we think he'll make 10,000 test runs because he is so good on the drive, he's so classy through point, and he's batting with Shan Masood, who is kind of insisting that this side plays a different brand of cricket to the way it has before. He doesn't want them to get stuck in a trap in Pakistan where they run out of time. He doesn't want a side like England, as they did a year ago, to catch them on the final day. He wants them to bat in a way that lets them get in front of the game, which they couldn't do against Australia last year. And Shafiq is the kind of guy who has got the skills for that, and with Shan Masood has got the determination to execute that plan. For a time there, that 90 runs they put on, there was some good bowling, but you know they did look for the most part in control.
It's a style of play that you can't achieve while Imam Al-Haq is opening the batting, basically, the way that he played in Perth last week. It is contradictory, and in some ways it felt like a blessing for them that he got out early.
Out at a good time, weirdly. He took the shine off the new ball sort of thing. Like, he played the old-fashioned opener role. He gets 10 from 44 balls, and you're right, it felt like him falling then did liberate them just a little bit, not long before tea. I mean, to be fair, they added another 34 runs before the tea break after he fell.
Yeah.
But Imam's got 9 one-day hundreds and an average of 48. Like, he's played so much excellent one-day cricket.
Yeah.
It feels like he should have the game to be able to
it's
accelerate
a
at times. He's making the decision to play the sheet anchor role instead.
Yeah, it is a decision, and that's why it can get frustrating at times. And like we talked about in Perth, where he tried to go from 0 to 100 rather than just looking to go up through the gears a little bit. But it meant that Shan Masood came out, and it felt like that was the best time for batting. You know, like the pitch had been rolled not that long ago. It was a beautiful sunny afternoon. The forecast wasn't great for today, but no showers ever eventuated, and it just got warmer and nicer and more pleasant, and it felt like some of those MCG days that you remember, where day 2 and 3, that's when you want to be batting.
Absolutely.
When the pitch is at its most placid, you don't have the little day 1 extra gremlins. And I think, you know, they'd given away too big a score to Australia, but 318 wasn't a massive score. And so at the point where they're reeling it in, Shan Masood's going along nicely, and it wasn't without risk. The whole time I was watching the Abdullah Shafiq Shan Masood partnership, I was like waiting for the wicket, because Shafiq kept reaching outside the off stump. He kept playing square, like punching through point repeately.
That's
reaching
kind of what
for
he
that
does,
wider
though, right?
line.
Like, it's that old thing like Travis Head. Like, if he doesn't play that shot, I mean, it's a risk-reward balancing.
Sure.
But if he's made an art form of playing through point, then I guess he's got to keep playing through point, right?
Yeah, but it's not like he was going for it. He wasn't booming. He was just tapping the ball away. I'll take 2 there, 1 there, 3 there. And so in some ways it was quite controlled. But in other ways, when he's driving on the up around outside that off stump, Cummins bowling, I'm like, he's going to nick one eventually. Yeah. And there were a couple. There was one that went along the ground through the cordon. And Shan Masood, you're never convinced about Shan Masood because he averages 28 in Test cricket over a longish period of time. But I kept thinking about the Pakistan-India game in the T20 World Cup last year, when he only made 35 or so. But it felt it felt at ease, it felt calm, and that was here, a year ago. And so in some ways I thought maybe there's a little MCG vibe that's working for him, because he looked good. Came down the pitch and hit Lyon over long on for 6, was positive without being reckless, and just was able to take them on at different times. The way they worked Hazelwood around that first over when he came back, and they were like, cool, we'll just knock you off the top of the bounce. 1 there, 2 there, 2 there, 3 there. Suddenly it's 8 off and over from him. It's 13 off and over from Mitchell Starc. It's 10 off and over from Lyon. But 55 in 10 overs after the tea break. And the Australians are starting to get a bit frustrated at this point at up to 124 for 1.
Yeah, so it's the 1-2 punch, right? Well, it ends up being 5 punches. But the first one, the Shafiq piece to this that gets the ball rolling. The caught and bowled from...
Stop, he's already dead.
Well, the caught and bowled from Cummins. I was on commentary at the time, and I immediately had that mental link to Lahore. I know we had a stoush about the Lahore caught and bowled.
We did the same thing. I mean, but, we both have the same brain worms. I saw it and I was like, yep, Lahore. And then 5 minutes later, you come down the stairs going, Lahore. Yep. It was similar. Well, it wasn't straight back. It wasn't hit as hard, but it was further away.
It was the fact that he had to put his hands to one side. It wasn't up or down. It was to the side. He only got it in his left mitt. But you've got to have such presence of mind, as Cummins does, having played so much Test cricket now, to even be in the frame of mind. So, I need to move quickly to one side or the other. That doesn't happen unless you're practicing it, unless you're thinking about it. So, having done it twice in 2 years says something to me about just how in the game Cummins is at the moment. But
and he rolls over and sort of ends up on his back in much the same way, and didn't throw the ball away, which meant that it was actually a catch.
And anyway, control was fine last year too, but we won't do that again. But the Shafiq dismissal as it opens things up. To that point, Cummins in that particular spell actually wasn't bowling that well. He was trying to bowl attacking the stumps. He was missing leg stump a fair bit. Then he was going back of a length, and it felt like they were about to get stuck into let's call it plan C, where you're constantly now seeing in Test cricket 5-minute setback for the short ball. I don't think we were far away from that. We were maybe 10 minutes away from them going, right, we gave them a working over with some short stuff in Perth last week. Let's try it again. We might burgle a wicket, and from there we can get into them. Instead, he gets the half chance or the quarter chance that is Shafiq. Then he bowls a delivery that's going to get, I haven't seen the CricViz analytics on this yet, but it'll come back with one of those, what's it, the predicted wicket
average or something.
That'll come down as like one of the deliveries that Cummins has bowled with the most probability of taking a wicket in his whole career, hitting the top of off. It broke like an off spinner. And I feel for Barber, who's got a dreadful record against Australia in Australia. Well, not a dreadful record. He made 100 last time, but he's only made it to 25 twice in 12 innings, right? He's rarely got going.
It almost decked further than that. It was like it hit the spigots of the two bails sort of in between, like just above middle stump. It's that length that makes it so hard to know whether you're going forwards or back, and that was the thing. You see him sort of caught on the crease, and he doesn't play it brilliantly. There is a gap there for it to get through, but it doesn't cut back a lot. That's always the thing. I talk about this with Cummins a bit. He doesn't have to seam the ball a long way because it's just enough. He just does it enough at times.
It felt like this one did break. I know what you're saying, but I feel like this one did break more. Like I feel like this was the type of one. It's one of those.
It covers more distance after it passes the bat, I guess. So that first bit of deviation to beat the bat isn't a lot, and then it comes in and hits closer to middle and off. But
the fact that it hits that bail as well, it just looks so impressive. And by that point, you're like, right, they're in amongst them here. The pigeons all over the ground today. They're in amongst the pigeons. And then Shan Masood then plays the shot. This is where I was circuitous way of getting there, but I wanted to talk about Shan's dismissal.
Okay.
I hope the way that Shan got out today, which does look ridiculous, right? At that stage, after losing 2 wickets with the score on 124 and 131, the score's 147 at this stage. They need to consolidate after the productive time they had after tea, but instead he dances and catches a fat top edge, and he's caught nicely in the sun by Mitchell Marsh. I hope it doesn't dissuade Masood from playing that way into the future. Someone's got to be the standard bearer. If you want to change the way you're going to play your Test cricket, I don't think that England have relinquished personal responsibility, for example. You hear this quite a bit. It's no responsibility cricket. There is responsibility. If you have a consistent bad run, you're still going to lose your spot in the side. We saw that last year with Alex Lees, and there'll be others who fall foul of the current regime because they're not making critical runs at the right times. But Masood, what he's trying to do, it's not just about this week or about last week at Perth or next week at Sydney. He's trying to change the whole culture of Pakistan cricket. And at the moment, he hasn't got the cattle. So in the absence of that, he's got to do it himself. And that's just going to take a while. So, look, it might have an effect on his personal returns from time to time, but I still admire what he is attempting to do with this Pakistan side and making them more competitive into the future. And that's just going to take time. And, you know, we spoke yesterday about feeling like someone like Aga Salman has that right skill set across the three disciplines to play a role in that. But yeah, I hope they keep faith in Shan Masood, and I hope that he keeps preaching what he's preaching and delivering on it as well.
It's interesting in terms of who he's got who can go with him, because Shafiq can, Barbara can but won't. I mean, it's just not the way that he plays in Test cricket. It's not the way he's taught himself or learned to play over the long years that he's been there. Imam won't. So he's got, but Rizwan will, and that was part of the reason they brought Rizwan back into this side. I think is that, and it's not like Sarfraz Ahmed isn't an enterprising player who scores quickly as well, but just something about the way that Rizwan's happy to take games on, like the way he did in the back half of the day here. I mean, Aga Salman gets out playing a pretty bad shot, driving the line well outside off stump.
You can just see like he's just learning how to bat in Australia, and it just takes some time. He'll be much better next time. You know what I mean? Like I can see Aga Salman coming back in 4 years' time and being far better for this experience, but you just can't adapt to batting in conditions like this overnight.
So he nicks off for 5, and that's in the same over as Rizwan's hit Pat Cummins for 6. So he's flicked him off his pads, outrageous shot over long legs, so real 50-over stuff. Like he's come in just playing a one-day innings, just channeling his World Cup batting. And in that same over, that's the one where Aga Salman gets out, and South Shakil's already gone. RIP the streak.
I know, I was on, I teed it up, and he moved to 9. I go, there's a significant 1 run away. You know, he's like within 50 or so runs of being the quickest Pakistani to 1,000 runs by like a mile, by like 5 innings or something like that. So I was willing him to 10, then willing him to 70 odd or whatever he would have required. But I think he really got out the ball before. Hazelwood, he plays this really awkward attempted cut shot from nowhere, and Hazelwood's in his head. Next ball, decking back through the gate, not the Hazelwood one that holds its line and it breaks away. It's the one that breaks in and bends back the off stump. So 2 of the Australian deliveries today have hit the top of off, and that's why they're just they smother you that way, don't they?
Yeah. So and it was a beauty, and it gets him 9. He's still never made a duck. That'll be our next thing, but he's got a long way to go.
Anderson.
De Villiers, the first 78 innings of his career didn't make a duck. So that's the longest streak. The longest duckless career is Jim Burke. You remember Jim Burke, the stodgy opener in the 50s? 44 times, never made a duck. Made a bunch of 1s and 2s and 3s, but no ducks. Okay. And a not out. He was not.
So where does Anderson fit in with his streak of no ducks?
Anderson, I can't remember
where he. Like a decade where he didn't make a duck or something.
Yeah, but it might have
been length of time.
Gower had the longest streak of innings. It was 100 plus, 113 or 119.
And then Gower gets a duck against Australia in '89, which
he made ducks before that and after that.
Yeah.
So it depends what kind of stretch we're talking here. So he's got a long way to go. So Shaquille, put it that way, he'll probably get a block.
We'll back him
next time around.
We like him. We'll back him in.
So what? The upshot is they're 124 behind. They've got Rizwan still there on 29, not out.
And Rizwan's kooky.
Yeah.
Rizwan's a bit, left of centre. What was that thing during the World Cup when he said he pretended that he had cramp just because he wanted to kind of feel a bit of energy about himself? Like, this is Rizwan. Today when he went down when trying to play a pull shot that didn't quite go so well, and he collapsed down on the ground like he'd done his knee, there was nothing wrong with him.
No.
It was just all theatrics. And,
he's a drama kid.
Yeah, when we were recording,
he's a drama kid.
He does a bit of Amdram on the side.
Yeah.
When he was doing
paints his fingernails black in year 9.
Listening to Marilyn Manson even now. Last week when we were out the back,
he's the last one. He's actually the only one still doing that.
Isn't it Paul Pfeiffer?
Yeah.
Hang on. Who when Rizwan was doing a little clinic behind us, and he was playing up to those 18-year-old lads.
Yeah.
They just wanted to watch him dive. There's about 10 of them.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, I'll just do another one. I'll do another one. Like this is Rizwan, I think. So I'm glad he's back. He makes things fun.
Yep.
But he's going to have to. 124 behind. He's going to have to make 3/4 of them to get a first innings.
Well, he's just got to take a bite out of it. That's all. He's just got to take out of it what he can and try to keep them in there. And they're close enough that if you could put on another 50 or 60, I don't know, who knows. And a word for Amir Jamal, who was really brave.
I like that.
Particularly at the end, Rizwan gets a single early in that last over, Stark's bowling, and Jamal's just coming forward, blocking them out. He's on the front foot. He got hit early on. He just took a bouncer because he felt it coming up, and he did, instead of getting his gloves in the way, he played it with his shoulder, and he leaned forward and dropped it down off his shoulder, like took it flush. Would have hurt, but he was willing.
Shirt fronted it.
He was, Yeah, he was willing
Took
to
it
do
out
that.
like Paul Vanderhaar in the 89-second semi-final.
Not quite.
Dermy ran through him.
Led-
Rest is history.
Didn't quite lead with the shoulder with quite as much force as that, but it was brave. I thought you're coming out at 5, you're a bowler at 8. Sorry, you're probably a spot too high. Yeah, he's got a decent first class record, but it's a pretty small sample size as well. So anyway, it engendered respect. I thought he deserved a little round of applause for that.
Dermy had 9 touches that day, and Lou Richards made him man of the match for taking out Paul Vanderhaar and changing the whole energy of the final.
There you go.
There you go.
That could be Amir Jamal on day 5. Yes. Will he get the votes in the norm?
Will Louis Richards? Will Louis Richards give him the 3 votes in the Sun tomorrow?
Have we got a Ouija board here in the MCC library? We'll pop that on the desk here and see what he's got to say.
Speaking of the library, shall we move to the Final Word Hall of Fame?
Sure.
It's brought to you by CBUS Super, the Final Word Hall of Fame. You might have heard of them. Strong returns over the long term. Year after year, the default investment option, Growth, My Super, brackets, square brackets, has delivered strong returns for members, returning an average of 8.99% per year since inception, some 39 years ago.
I'm willing to round that up to 9. I reckon you could just say 9%.
Yeah, well, you would, wouldn't you?
Yeah. But not if you're CBUS, because attention to detail,
I was going to say,
that's
you wouldn't. CBUS wouldn't.
Wouldn't.
Others might.
Others might.
CBUS wouldn't.
No.
Because they're so fixated on getting every last cent where it should be into members' superannuation accounts.
Very good.
We love working with them. Their 40th birthday this year. A lot more to say about CBUS in 2024. We're going to celebrate them on our New Year's Eve show, which is coming up on, as is the custom, New Year's Eve.
Yeah, that's generally when. Although sometimes it's come out on the 30th of December.
Yeah, I think we've.
Who knows? We're erratic.
Yeah.
We're kooky. We're spooky. We're Mohammed Rizwan.
Mohammed Rizwan.
Where's the nail polish?
You got some noms? I've got a few. You go first.
Okay. I've got. It's really just the one because it was so entertaining. I mean, obviously, sometimes crowd antics are a bit tiresome. Sometimes they're entertaining. There was a fair bit of stuff going on in Bay 13, as you'd expect. Some people were wankers. Some people were told they were wankers, etc.
Some people were legends.
Some people were legends. So there was a fair bit
Some
of
people were
Marsh
loved
stuff.
for they are Victorians.
Yeah. And others who weren't Victorians were loved. Mitchell Marsh got a lot of love.
I like that.
Like
After
to see
5 years ago, when Marsh was booed because they dropped Hanscom for Marsh that India Test year in
Yep.
2018.
Yep.
Next batsman for Australia, Mitchell Marsh. Boo. I loved it today. They backed in Mitch Marsh.
Yep.
Full circle. Nice moment.
A healing, a reaching hands across the Nullarbor, a healing between the two states after yesterday.
44,000 on a workday today, by the way. 44,000 on a workday.
But the real star of the show was Travis Head down there. He spent a lot of time on the boundary and started getting into it, started realising how much fun he could have because, he's got his back to them and he starts doing a bit of the old, not the full Merv Hughes, and I appreciated he wasn't derivative, he didn't copy it, but he started warming up his bowling arm and then everybody behind him is warming up their bowling arm. Then he does the other arm, they're doing that one. Then he's doing some windmills, they're doing that. They're all building up to it. Ooh, and that's all good fun. Like, that's great, that's fine. And then I think it's the Barber Azam wicket. I think it's when Cummins goes through him, but it might have been the catch before that. I reckon it's the second one. He's doing that. They're all up with him, and then oomph, the bails go off.
Huge.
And he starts running in and then stops and puts
Goes
both
back.
arms up,
Yeah.
not looking back, knowing that everyone behind him will do the same thing, and has his little moment with the crowd before he comes in to join the huddle.
I didn't pick
It
that
was
up.
nice,
I saw they were going nuts for him. I didn't know that he did that.
He started coming in and then stopped and realised he had a moment, and he took advantage of that moment without looking back, like sunglasses walking away from the explosion thing, knew it was happening, and then ran in. It was nice.
He and Riz can perform together.
Yeah.
They can put on a bit of a show. Maybe they
like
can come
that.
to our live show at Sydney on the 7th of January. Buy a ticket. Michael Bevan, Made in Heaven.
Yep.
Why wouldn't you buy a ticket to the Comedy Store? Find a word in the link in
They
the
could
show
do a
notes.
fringe. Maybe they can do a fringe show together.
Yeah, I can see
Rizwan
it.
and Travis Head.
Someone said on our text line today on SCN that Travis Head's becoming David Boone. I'm like, I think that might be true. I mean,
A few more shots.
the mustache, and like the persona. He's becoming a cult hero in the way that Boone
Sure.
did, and not before time.
Okay.
A few mentions for me. Well, I'll start with crowd interaction, shall we? The kiss and the cuddle, which was really a cuddle. I thought it was a kiss initially, with the two 16 or so year olds at the back of the Ponsford stand. Did you catch this?
No.
Oh, it was brilliant. So They came back from the end of the over and they flashed these two youngsters up on the screen. He had his arm around it. It was really quite lovely and touching. Then they saw themselves on screen and they absolutely shat themselves. It was pretty clear that he or she or both were cheating at the MCG, and they both put their jumpers over their faces. Then he ran down with his jumper, his hood all the way over his face. A bloke came over and started dancing in front of them. The TV cameras raced over there. We posted the video on the SEN feed. It's in my Twitter as well because I was luckily on air with Barat and Simon Kadich at the time. But it's just one of those things that you can't plan for it. Kiss cam or whatever you want to call it can get it wrong sometimes. You know, brother next to sister or whatever it is. This just nailed the moment. It wasn't anything over the top from the director. It was just capturing what they thought was a lovely moment. Little did they know what they were really capturing.
You can never be too sure. You can never be too sure.
No, and I did give me the chance to tell the story of when I took a first date to the to Bay 13 when Warnie hit his shoulder in 2002. We were blended within the crowd that day, though. I've got my little badge here. You got one as well, Jeff. We're in the MCC library. They celebrated their 150th anniversary in here in November.
I'm willing to grant it if it's years. That's the only thing I'll give you 150.
That's pretty cool. I mean, Dave's been here for such a long time, the chief librarian with Trev. I mean, they've done an astonishing job with this place. They've been huge supporters of Jeff and me. If you're an MCC member, take full advantage of this space. If you're not an MCC member, tell them you know us. They'll probably let you up, let's be honest. It is so nice up here. They've got every collection. They've done a great job promoting Jeff's books over the years as well. And yeah, proud to have an MCC badge here that's Melbourne Cricket Club, 150 years of the library. Gideon did a keynote address at their luncheon in the long room to celebrate that milestone last month. So a nod to our friends here at the library who've always been good to us and have often let us record here. What else we got? 52 sundries in the first innings of the Test match. That is the most ever in an innings of a Test match at the MCG. Ooh. And they've been playing Test matches here since, well, you know,
the first
very start.
Yeah.
I
was glad Shaheen got a couple of wickets. I would tell you, I was relieved. You know,
I said to Wooey at the back at one point, just needs a pat on the bum.
Yeah,
Shaheen just needs a pat on the bum, a bit of a attaboy, and then like 2 balls later he gets a wicket. I'm like, go on, Shaheen. We're all with you. Yep. Fundamentally, we are all with Shaheen.
Right.
Shaheen is good for cricket.
Yep.
We love things that are good for cricket.
Yep. You're a lanky speedster with a Lego helmet hairdo. We're all
with the
for
Eric Banner Ray Martin hat on. You're one of our boys. I remember his first day in international cricket, covering it in Zimbabwe, and he was talking through a translator, and he got Finch and Maxwell, and he goes, I dreamed last night, I had a dream that my first 2 wickets would be Finch and Maxwell, and it came true. I mean, first of all, who acknowledges that dream and comes out as an 18-year-old and says it? Shaheen's one of our people.
When news breaks, Shaheen is where the action is, sitting on the bonnet of a car outside 7-Eleven, eating a pineapple donut. I'm just mixing my Eric Banner universe here.
If anyone,
imagine if he got Poiter's hair. Imagine if we got Shaheen to get the blonde mullet.
Bring back Poiter deserves to. I don't know whether Eric Banner can justify playing that character anymore. One more thing, Ben Jones popped on Twitter last night that England's men are playing Test matches on 24% of the days in 2024. That means that we're making daily shows about the England men's Test team on 24% of days in 2024. I thought I'd just reveal that to you, Jeff. It'll be fun. We like doing this. We like making this show. Remember? It's our job in that. But it's good.
True.
It doesn't feel like a job.
It's a good one.
CBUSSuper.com.au, past performance, not a reliable indicator of future performance. I don't know if I said that before. I have now. Great to have them by our side. And it's great to be here at the G at the library. We should wind it up there on a day where Pakistan made it to 6 for 194 by the close. They're behind by 124. We'll be back tomorrow for We Can't Stop and We Won't Stop. I know.
See ya.